Welcome to the lecture on verbal communication. So verbal communication, and my subtitle here is all about the words, as opposed to all about the bass, I suppose. Anyway, when we say verbal, we have a tendency to refer to anything that's verbal as being something that's spoken. But in fact, anything that's verbal is something that includes words. So we can have things that are verbal that are spoken and things that are verbal that are written. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about nonverbal in the next lecture. But today we're talking about verbal communication, which is the use of words, spoken as well as written. So meanings, if you think about the very first lecture, we were talking about the model of communication, and I want you to distinguish between message and meaning. Message being a thing that tries to convey a meaning. And I said meanings aren't certain, they are created by the people. Right? And we talked about content messages and relational messages. The idea, or dimensions of messages. The idea that content is the thing that's said that we're trying to communicate. Like, how are you today? Oh, I'm fine. And the relational message has to do with what those words that I decided to share with you says about our relationship. The fact that if I look sort of sad, you say, what's wrong? I say, oh, I'm fine. You think, okay, you don't want to open up to me. There's something, I'm saying something about our relationship in that moment. Well, the book says to this that meanings are in people. If you think about content and relational messages, we get to the idea that meanings are in people, that the meaning that when you say, oh, I'm fine, I mean, you could be you're fine, and that I'm thinking, oh, you don't want to talk to me, I see, and it could be you're fine, but that meaning is something that I brought to it. So meanings are in people. My point is that meanings are in people, that I might be trying to convey a certain thing to you, or you're trying to convey a certain thing to me, but then as a receiver of that message, you or I may take a little something different from that. Those meanings are in people. They're about the history we have, they are about the words we've spoken, and they're also about other sorts of contexts. So you have the phrase or the expression, Yas Queen, which I sound like an idiot when I say it, and there's a reason for that.
Yes, queen.
Yes, queen.
Yes.
Yes, queen.
That's not quite.
Yes, queen.
Okay, can we not do that anymore now?
She'll get there.
So that was a clip of Jeffrey Tambor from Transparent, right? Trying to learn how to say it and being sort of awkward. But here what we have actually is a history of the word Yas Queen that helps us understand it a little bit better, and going back to the idea that messages, or that meanings rather, not messages, meanings are in people, and the way that the use of certain words can help create, inform, and cement certain identities.
Yes, queen, yes, queen, yes, queen! Yes! The origin of yes, queen, like almost all modern day slang, and who are we kidding, almost anything fun in the world can be traced back decades and decades and decades to gay men. Yes! Queen was once a slur for a gay man. He's such a queen, oh my god. But the LGBT community, drag queens, and the ballroom scene snatched it back and made it a term of endearment and empowerment.
Butch queen! Butch queen! Butch queen!
After all, a queen is someone not to be with. But what about yes? Also originating from urban gay slang. Yes! It's more than just a simple yes. Yes! There's an aha moment of recognition, like, oh my god, and yes, I see you, wrapped up into one. Yes went viral on the internet in 2013 in the YouTube video, Yes Gaga.
Yes! Yes, Gaga, you look so good.
Other variations of yes have been used by our favorite reality stars and by pop divas like Nicki Minaj. These include yes honey, yes ma'am, and my favorite, yes bitch, yes. Which leads us to yes queen, which went viral after it was used on Broad City in 2015.
Yas queen, Yas queen, Yas queen, Yas queen. Again, Yas queen, Yas queen.
So when should you use yes queen? Use yes queen when someone absolutely kills it, or he or she is speaking to your soul with their everything. And that's yes queen.
One of the really essential things to take away from all this discussion is the idea that language forms our reality. That what we understand of the world comes from language, how we talk about words with or how we talk about events with other people, the words that we use helps to actually form reality. And so here's a quick example I use, and I don't use this example lightly. I mean, I lived through this day, and so something I take very seriously. But if you think about what happened in this country on 9/11, when those planes were taken over, the people who did that, were those people terrorists, right, meant to create terror in others, and so therefore were suggesting bad people, might be like a snarl word, right? Or were they martyrs, which is more of a per word, perhaps, you think about what the book says. The idea is that someone who's a martyr, they're dying for a great cause, a cause greater than them. Whether you call the person a martyr or a terrorist tells us about your view of reality. It helps us to shape and to form our own. And of course, I don't mean it's because somebody uses a term we automatically accept it, but they're encouraging us to see the world in their way. And again, through use of what the book talks about as being purr and snarl words. Right. So as part of this idea that language forms reality is the idea that being able to name something helps us to identify it. Right? When I can name it, I can identify it. So as an example, the color red. Very obvious, that's the color red, unless you're red-green colorblind, right? In which case, then, this concept of red is not clearly distinguishable from other concepts. And I'm not red-green colorblind, so I can't speak for it well. But here we have what those of us who can see red-green refer to as being red. Okay, clear enough. This is also red. And this is red. I'm hoping that you can see those changes in shade as this is being recorded, right? The idea is there's all sorts of different reds. And so we just say red, and it means all of these things you're seeing in front of you, if you can see those shades. But different words allow us to distinguish in the upper left corner red from the bottom, or from the far right corner, or upper left is red, and far right is jam, and they're both red, but it helps to understand a lighter versus a darker red. So in terms of language forming our reality, being able to name something helps us to identify it, right? So when I can name it, I can identify it. Another example of this is rain. I think about children. I mean, I have children, but also when I was a kid, right? And so what is rain? Well, it's water falling out of the sky. It's rain. Right? And so little kids sometimes freak out because, oh my gosh, quick, I gotta go inside. It's raining. Where's my umbrella? And you say, no, it's just like drop, 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 drop. You say, that's not raining. No, it's sprinkling, right? And learn, oh, so I can go out in the rain. But yeah, you can go out in the rain, but of course what you mean is when it's sprinkling, and then there's like thunder and pouring down, and they're gonna go outside and say, what the heck are you doing? Well, you say I can go outside in the rain. Well, you can go outside in a sprinkle. You can't go outside in a thunderstorm or a downpour, right? A sprinkle is rain, a shower is rain, a downpour is rain. So as we have more words for it, we can distinguish how we can treat it, right? So you can go, it's not a big deal going out in a sprinkle. If you're like me, I don't like being rained on because, in fact, I am made of sugar. I will melt. Sorry, Dad. I hate being rained on. My father, that was the silliest thing. Anyway, so right, but you learn that that some rain you don't mind being out in, some rain you do, because whether it's heavy or whether it's light, right? So rain. The word teasing. So when I was in school, I'll share this with you. I'm not trying to gripe or moan about it or use you all for free therapy, but I was teased a lot in school. That's what it was said. It was said, my parents would say that children were teasing me. Well, that teasing was pretty intense. It was pretty regular. It was pretty constant. It was very hurtful. So today, that same behavior, my parents and the teachers wouldn't have written off as teasing. They would call it bullying. By being able to put a different name on it, we identify it differently. But bullying often meant, when I was a kid, often meant like somebody who took your lunch money from you, and no one ever took my lunch money from me, so I wasn't bullied. But it's that idea of teasing we don't think much of, but when you have a word like bullying, it might help us to identify it quite a bit more, right? And so how we name something creates and represents our worldview, right? Talk about 9/11, talk about teasing, bullying, right? That even if something is sort of if a couple has a relationship, right? Well, I guess a relationship could be, I say a couple, but it could be romantic, it could be friends, it could be family, and you say that she teases him a lot, or she teases her a lot, or whatever pronouns you want to use. The point is they're teasing each other. After all, you say, well, I don't know if it's teasing. That this seems like it's sort of ugly. I think this is getting sort of toxic, right? It goes from being teasing to being toxic, right? And so those words help us to recognize something, helps us to create this idea, to represent what we're seeing and distinguish it from other ideas. Right. So language, as I was saying, language forms a reality, and the book talks about the ladder of abstraction. So words can be abstract, they can be concrete. And abstract are sort of, I draw this, cloud. They're sort of up here, sort of, if you can see what I'm drawing, ethereal, I don't know, sort of up in the clouds, which again, up in the clouds is the way we talk about things culturally. It's just being something that's not clear, right? Because if you ever fly through a cloud, it's there, but it's not there, right? It's abstract. And then things are concrete, right? They're there on the ground, hard, firm, foundation, right? And I do reverse the order that the book has for ladder of abstraction because I've never seen it drawn that way. And it's that representation of concrete or abstract down to well, no, I guess they do. I guess they do it abstract to concrete, don't they? Because at the bottom they have Shane. Yeah, because the most concrete thing is Shane. Never mind. Excuse me. All right. So again, that ladder of abstraction, and the book has a little example about the movie Shane, if you ever saw it. Shane, come back. All right, Shane. Right. If you're familiar with the term collateral damage, this is, by the way, an example I've used in teaching for over 20 years, which is odd because I'm only like 29. So anyway, so for over 20 years, I've used this example, and on a recurring basis seems very appropriate. So collateral damage refers to when there's military action, and there's some sort of a raid, a bomb drop, etc. And there is the target. There are the bad thing you want to hit, the missile launcher sort of thing, right? And so you hit it or you don't hit it, but regardless, there's damage done the places next to it that you weren't trying to hit, right? Because that rocket launcher is next to some sort of house of worship, and the house of worship has damage to it, right? Now, that house of worship then would be part of what's called collateral damage, right? So if we say a bomb does collateral damage, that's sort of abstract, right? It just does collateral damage. And when we hear it, it doesn't seem very anything to us, right? It's just like, what's collateral damage? I don't know, right? If we say it struck a civilian site, that's less abstract, it's more concrete, right? So it struck a civilian target. Right. Well, civilian target, though, could be a house, it could, or apartment. It could be, as I say, a house of worship. It could be a hospital. It could be a school. It could be a food store. Right. If we say damage an apartment, that's more concrete. Right. Not just any sort of civilian target, but damage an apartment. We can say that it left casualties. Still sort of vague. Or to be the most concrete, we can say that the bomb killed certain people. I want to emphasize that neither the top, get my pen, my laser for you here, right? Neither the top up here with collateral damage, nor down here at the bottom, it killed, these 4 people. I'm not saying either one of these is truth. I'm not saying that at all. Each of these language choices, from top to bottom and bottom to top, each of those language choices are a decision to reveal something, represent something about reality, and by making a choice to reveal that thing, to conceal other things. I'm going to say that again. It's a choice to reveal some things and conceal other things. If you say, but it's the most concrete, most truthful then, that the bomb killed these people, okay, yes, but that leaves out the fact that that happened, those people who we did not mean to kill, happened as part of some other goal that we believed was in the interest of many other people, and in fact we were not trying to kill them, right? Not saying that those lives aren't meaningful. What I'm saying is it takes away just as much of the story as saying there was collateral damage, as talking about people being killed accidentally as being ho-hum, emphasizing that the military has gone to kill these civilians takes away, wait, was there a certain goal in this? And so my point is that those language choices are revealing and concealing. I'm making an argument for the use of this word not, right? One or the other. But I'm pointing out the way each word choice is a choice to reveal or conceal something. And then now I shall get rid of my laser pointer. So as I say, language forms our reality. And so the lack of words makes some things or people invisible, right? When there is an experience or there are people of certain identities and we don't have word for them, then that experience or those words are invisible, right? So go back to the word teasing, right? So think back to early 70s, but really we're talking about much more in the 80s. Women, particularly women, but also men, particularly women, though, complaining about being teased at work. You know, I'm just teasing you. Right, but the comments are, there's a man, not always this, but often, right, a man at work making comments of the woman's body, about her waist, about her behind, about her breasts, so on and so forth, right? Sexual comments. He's just teasing. We recognize now, wait, that's not teasing, that's sexual harassment, right? We recognize the seriousness of it. But having the term sexual harassment allows us to identify it and treat it very differently than teasing. So teasing might be, you sort of rib somebody a little bit because they're, I don't know, they drive around with their turn signal on. It might be sort of teasing. Making sexual jokes to somebody in the office on a regular basis, that's not teasing, that's sexual harassment, and we're going to respond to it very differently. And so some people then, we say actually that they are mute. There's something called muted group theory, which I won't quite get into here, but we say they're mute. Because they have experiences that we're not able to put voice to because there's not a language for it, right? There's not a language for it. If you think about the way we have a very sort of masculine culture, I touched on that a little bit in the first day's lecture, but we have a pretty masculine culture, right? So if someone is brave, we might say they have a lot of guts, but another expression is we say they got a lot of balls, right? So it goes to species experiences and talk about them in terms, or speak to experience and talk to them in terms of a man's body, but not to a woman, right? And so the experiences that women have, their bodies are much more muted. Although I saw a meme the other day, and I thought it was sort of clever, and it was talking about taking your mask off as soon as you get in your car is a new equivalent to taking your bra off when you get home. And I thought, yeah, sure, I guess I've never worn a brassiere, right? But the idea is that we don't have a lot of expressions that sort of capture what might be the experience of many women, right? And instead, a lot of our language focuses on the experiences that are had by men, like people who are white, people who are middle-aged, people who are straight, and so forth. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment, right? So the words that we use, they represent our values, right? The words that we choose to use, they represent our values. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the many isms of language in just a little bit here. So hold on to this idea of the words we represent or use, they represent our values. And to talk about the words we use and how they represent our values, I'm going to pick up in this place in the second part, talking about being left out, which is the notion of confirmation, disconfirmation, and bias in language. So I'll see you then.